I get asked a lot what what values the water should be if we're looking in the info palette. Um, we can get readings and see what the values currently are and what they should be. Um, Water is so different throughout, especially in Florida, depending on where you're at. It's going to be pretty different. Like this water has a lot of green in it, so normally the water would have a lot of cyan. You would have at least 30%. I'm going to make a sample point here. Go into the color sample tool, and then just click a point, and then I'll make a sample point here. Like I said in the previous class, I'm going to change that to proof colors. Actually, and that's one thing I actually forgot to do in this example is most of our images we are going to eventually convert them to CMYK. So we want to make sure we go into view and set it to proof colors, and then that'll show us what the image will look like when we convert it, and so there won't be any surprises. And I should have done that first, and I didn't, so that was bad of me. So we have a color sample point here, and we can see what the values are. It's 50, 37, and then 59. It means we have more yellow than cyan even. So that kind of gives me an idea where I should start if I'm going to do some color correction to it. So I'm going to go to the blue channel. If you don't know the relativeness of colors from red, green, blue, and cyan, magenta, and yellow, it's basically red and cyan are inverse colors, green and magenta are inverse colors, and blue and yellow are inverse colors. So if I go to the blue channel and I subtract blue, it's making the image look more yellow. And the same with the other channels. If you subtract that color, you're going to get the inverse effect.
Mike, what's the difference on the info palette between the number and the percent next to it? Because the percents don't add up to 100. So what do those percents mean?
No, it's the percent of. Excuse me, let me have water. It's the percent of that color, of that individual color. Each color can go to 100%.
Oh, so it's like the 10th of the color?
Right.
Okay.
It's basically how much of that color is being laid down on press. So the max is 100% of the color being laid down, and so in this case we want to add blue, and that's actually do we want to add blue because it is greener water, so we gotta figure out how blue we want it. I would actually like to maybe increase the cyan. Okay, that's a little technicolor, so we'll back off that. Maybe reduce the magenta. Actually increase green since we are in RGB. Okay, and that's not looking too good, but what I'm really concentrating right now is I'm not really worried about the highlights, because I'm going to actually make this a little more sunsetty. I'm going to pick up some more reds and yellows and make it a little bit more dramatic in there. And to do that, I'm going to use color balance. But for now, I'm kind of concentrating on these little shadow areas in the water and trying to get that looking somewhat decent. I think this green is a little much. If you want to get small little tweaks with these points, all you have to do is select a point, and then you can use the arrow key to just nudge it. And a lot of times that's a little easier than having to actually pick a point and move it around.
Are you picking your points based off the histogram?
Actually, I'm picking the points off of just my knowledge of where they're at. You can pick it off the histogram. If you want, you can let me get off the color sample tool, and you can if you control click on the image and you can drag it around, you can see what areas of your curve are being affected. So in this case, it's where these points are. Actually, control will actually make a point too. So if you just control click, it'll make a point in that area, allow you to tweak that individually. And because it is a curve, if I make this point here, I got 2 points here, and I bring one down, it's affecting the other side of the curve as well. So you have to be careful with that. So in this case, I'm going to really concentrate more on the contrast of it with the curves here. And now I'm going to move into color balance. So I'll do a color balance there. And I want to affect the highlights. I want these highlights to be red and yellow and real sunset looking. So I went to the highlights. Yellow, red. And what I can do now is I can actually put a mask on it. I'll do select color range, and I'll just click this real bright area here and move that over so you can see it. And we'll increase the fuzziness a bit.
And so it doesn't matter that it's grabbing the sky because the mask on your group already cuts the sky out, right?
Exactly. So what I'm creating is basically a compound mask where it's all these adjustments are being isolated by this main mask, which only affects the water. And with my color range, it's only basically affecting these highlight areas. So yeah, it's creating this compound mask effect. And really, if you master that, then that's like the heart of doing detailed color correction, is learning to do compound masks. So it's probably pretty good there. So now I'll just turn this adjustment off here. Back on. We can see now we have a lot more contrast. I accentuated these highlight areas from the sky to make it look like the sun is coming down and it's really creating this color effect on the water. And with that isolation, I was able to get all these little highlight crests in the water here to just give it a little bit more color separation and contrast in there. And again, I'll just turn that off and turn it back on. And part of this is deciding what your plan is for the image. If you want to go more neutral and normal with it and make it look everything as neutral as you can, or do you want to give it more of a dramatic effect? So in this case, I'm giving a little bit more of a dramatic effect. But if I was going more normal, then I wouldn't add these this highlight area and really warm up these highlights. I keep it more of a blue-green look overall. Okay. And the great thing about using adjustment layers is that you can always tweak it later if you change your mind, or turn it off completely. So you always have that room to move around. Okay. So next, I'm going to save the skin tone for a little bit. Maybe we'll work on the